Keir Starmer will today tell Britons there is light at the end of the tunnel as he attempts to deliver a message of hope. The PM will tell the Labour Party conference in Liverpool that people must join a shared struggle through tough times. He is set to announce a string of measures, including a crackdown on benefit fraud and new employment laws to drive down migration. The PM will also promise to bring in a new law to prevent cover-ups by the state before the next anniversary of the Hillsborough disaster. The Crunch keynote speech will be delivered at 2 p.m. and will see him pledge to build a new Britain. Mr. Starmer will say, "I know this country is exhausted by and with politics. I know that the cost of living crisis drew a veil over the joy and wonder in our lives, and that people want respite and relief and may even have voted Labour for that reason. Our project has not and never will change. I changed the Labour Party to restore it to the service of working people, and that is exactly what we will do for Britain. But I will not do it with easy answers. I will not do it with false hope." Fresh figures released this morning on the winter fuel allowance show hundreds of thousands of extra pensioners received the payments last winter, mounting pressure on the government after they announced cuts to them. Official stats show 11.6 million pensioners received them last year, 214,000 more than the 11.4 million in 2022-23, but Chancellor Rachel Reeves announced in the summer that she was cutting the payment for around 10 million pensions. The benefit will now be means-tested, with only the poorest pensioners eligible. Keir Starmer has been facing an ongoing backlash to the move, with unions having tried to force a vote on reversing the policy during the conference. Pensioners staged a protest outside the conference to criticize the plan. The PM is expecting to address tough decisions in his speech. Keir Starmer will today promise to introduce a new law to prevent cover-ups by the state before the next anniversary of the Hillsborough disaster. In his keynote speech at Labour's conference in Liverpool, the PM will confirm that the new legislation will be brought to Parliament by April. Known as Hillsborough Law, it will give victims of injustice greater power to take on the state, creating a legal duty of candor for public servants such as police officers. It comes after years of campaigning by the families of the 97 people who died at the 1989 FA Cup semi-final against Nottingham Forest at the Hillsborough Stadium in Sheffield. The families spent decades fighting for justice for their loved ones after police falsely blamed Liverpool fans for the disaster. The mum of a teenager stabbed to death in a senseless ninja sword attack has been told the deadly weapons will finally be banned. Home Secretary Yvette Cooper vowed to bring in Roman's Law, named after tragic teen Ronan Kanda, to prevent more families suffering the same heartbreak. The 16-year-old was stabbed from behind with a 20-inch blade in a heartbreaking case of mistaken identity as he walked home in Wolverhampton in 2022. As Cooper told his mum Pooja Kanda, "We will back you in your fight to save lives." Ms. Kanda told the Labour Party conference her son had just completed his GCSEs when his life was snatched away from him. She said, "On 29 June 2022, my son was murdered in a senseless case of mistaken identity just a few meters away from our home in Wolverhampton." The former Shadow Chancellor under Jeremy Corbyn's leadership, John McDonnell, has hit out at Labour's messaging about the economy and spending. Speaking to BBC Radio 4's Today programme, Mr. McDonnell, who had the whip removed from him by Labour when he voted against the government over the removal of the two-child benefit cap, said, "If you close your eyes and listen to the language being used, it's almost like George Osborne speaking again in 2010. When you hear politicians talk about tough choices or painful decisions, and then you hear some of the rhetoric around fraud and Social Security, literally that's a replica of a speech made by George Osborne in 2010. What I'm worried about is the first measure the government has actually introduced is an austerity measure of winter fuel allowance, which for many of my constituents will cause immense hardship. It comes amid reports the PM will use his speech to announce he will root out benefit fraudsters and give investigation teams powers to access details on claimants' bank accounts. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more news updates. Hit subscribe for the latest news.